Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Algebra coming to you live and direct from the studio, aka my living room, aka the place where I'm making this video right now so that you can enjoy it tomorrow when you're in class. What we're doing today is we're talking about these T charts that we started working on either yesterday during class or in the last video that you just completed. What we're going to try to do is now take that information everywhere that we're supposed to be starting our T-chart from, that most important point, the location of interest, combining it with the slope, and then creating a graph. So this first example out of several that you've been provided right now is going to take us right there, right away. No hesitations. Are you ready? If you're not, it's too late because it's happening. First thing that you need to do is identify within this first equation where you're supposed to start. Given the rule y equals 2 over 3 with the quantity x minus 3 in parentheses plus 1, I'm asking you to find 3 points and put them on the graph. And if you choose a good domain, you're going to avoid needing to graph fractions. And that keyword domain right there is something that we talked about in the last chapter. Domain is the x. It is the independent variable. It is the input. It is what you're going to start off with when we talk about creating this T-chart. The x value, which is the worst x that I've ever drawn in my entire life, my bad, should be 3. We get that value of 3 by looking right here at this original formula that I gave you to start with. X minus 3 would be canceled out by using a positive 3. The y value corresponding to that particular 3 is going to be 1. I know that's the one that comes from the back end of the formula. In the last conversation we had, we talked about how to use the slope to generate a couple more points. And that slope should be broken apart into 2 pieces. The first piece is going to change the y coordinate by adding 2 every time. As you go down your chart to get all 3 points, you should just add 2. Here we go again with the computer being weird. Even if I'm at home, it still acts funny. The bottom part of that fraction, the 3, is going to generate the values that you're going to use on the x side. 3, 6, 9. Now that you have some points, you're able to plot them on a graph. 3, 1, 6, 3. Uh-oh, we ran into a problem. When you run into this particular problem throughout this homework assignment, I do not want you to add extra boxes. There's no way for you to get all the way to 9x's. So what's the best thing for you to do in this situation is to go backwards. Use that slope that you have to generate a point that came beforehand, one that's outside of the original domain that you created, but is equally showing you that linear pattern. At this point, let's go ahead and move it on to the next graph, graph number 2. I don't know why there's a 3 there, but it's gone now. Question number 2 asks you to do the same thing. Create your T-chart, generate these points so that we can graph them on your XY chart. Your first X value should be -3 this time, with a +5 for the Y. Your slope tells you that the change in Y, or the rise, is actually a -2. So we're going to be counting down by 2 on the Y side. The X side is still a positive, so we're going to count up. Having these 3 points on the chart, you can go ahead and place them on the graph. -3, 5, -2, 3, and -1, 1. And there you go. Obviously, if I was there in person with you right now, it would take a little bit more care in connecting these dots, making sure that you can clearly see that it's a perfectly straight line. But right now, at this hour in the evening, it's a little bit past my bedtime and I can't do that. So we're going to move on to number 3, knowing that we have a pattern to use in generating all of the future topics. Here we go. Question number 3 says, given the rule 5/3x minus 5, I feel like something's missing. Something is absolutely missing. My man Jack Miller would tell me that there's no parentheses, so I don't know where to start. And then Sarah would say something really snazzy behind them. They would start arguing, and we would keep on moving forward. But what you need to know, what you need to recognize, when there is no parentheses, you should start with 0 automatically every single time. If there's no parentheses in this particular equation, you need to start with 0 for your x. The y doesn't have to change. The slope is still going to tell you the same information. It wants you to go up 5 in the y direction. It tells you to move 3 to the left. I wish my screen would stay still instead of moving around, but you guys are starting to catch my drift. These are the 3 points that we need to graph. You put them on the graph at their corresponding locations. And again, you have a straight line that fits together into what we call a linear function. That is absolutely a disgusting job of showing you this information. As I get better with this computer, these videos will get better also. So I apologize for the terrible quality at this point. I want you to take a pause on the video, try the next 3 graphs yourself, and once you have finished the next 3 graphs on the next page, press play so I can explain to you what your answer should be, and then we can do one more example together. I'll explain the last 3 graphs, and then you'll be done taking your notes for the day. You do have a homework assignment though, so you want to make sure you practice this now. Check your work, because when I grade the homework, it's got to be right. It's going to be accuracy, not completion. So go ahead and press pause. When I come back on here, you're going to be hearing the answers for the next 3 graphs. Hey, welcome back, y'all. It's your boy, Algebra. Haven't gone anywhere yet. Almost done with the video for today. I want to talk to you about pages 2 and 3 now. Looking at the first graph on the second page, you should recognize right away why I started with the value of -1 and -5. We've been practicing this for a couple of days. You know that the inside of the parentheses has to be the opposite number, and it always goes in the x column. The outside number is automatically your y value. Use your slope, go up 1 and over 2. Now you have a line. Done. Second graph. Second graph says that you have a slope, but there's no parentheses. And on the last page, we said if there's no parentheses, you have to start with 0. No other option. It has to start with 0. So I can put the first point on this graph, but then I run into a problem real quick. And that problem is there's no way for me to put 3, -9. And there's no way for me to put 6, -13. My slope said down 4 and to the right 3. What you need to do is just reverse it. Instead of going down 4, let's go up 4. But that requires us to go backwards 3 instead. If for some reason your T-chart takes you to a place that's not on the graph, it's no big deal. Just go the other way. Flip-flop them. Make the 4 a positive and the 3 the negative. Remember, earlier this week you said you can have a positive on the top or on the bottom, just not both. So we continue on to our next graph. It says 3 over 4x minus 5. Similar situation, no parentheses, so you automatically start with 0 for the x. The negative 5 is there for your first y value. And now that you have it, you use your slope. This time I didn't graph it in advance because I wanted to remind you that your slope, yes, we're using a T-chart today, but you can still just go up and over. This is still just a rise over run type of situation. I went up 3, over 4. Here's my next point. And there's the line. Bad things are happening with the screen right now. I apologize again for the bad quality on this video, but we're going to finish up this next page together, and then we're going to call it a quit. Again, you do have homework tonight. It will be graded for accuracy, so I want to make sure that we're all on the same page before we get there. Last page, if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and pause the video so that you can. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on rolling straight to it. Slope is up 3 and over 4. My first point has to cancel out the plus 3 in parentheses, and the negative 1 is going to stay as a part of that. That first point is located right here on the graph. I use my slope up 3 and over 4, and it generates this line. Your line should be a little bit more straight than mine. And we move on to the next one. First time I've given you something like this. Notice it's not a fraction in the front. Your slope is not a fraction, but you can make it one. It is completely appropriate in this situation for you to make this a fraction and say it's 2 over 1 instead of just a 2. You need to have a fraction, because if you don't, you're going to end up with something that's not a function anymore. And that violates all the rules that you've been taught so far this school year. We start, because there's no parentheses, with a 0, up 2 and over 1. Repeat it so that you have a line. And finally, the last problem that we're going to cover on this video. Yes, you do have one more whole page. That is for your practice, so that you can make sure that you have something to check with your classmates before you go off to do the homework, where it does start to count, either for or against you. So our last problem, back to the original format. There is a parentheses, so you use the opposite. You have a starting point with a -5 and -4. And the slope tells you to change the y by going down 4 and change the x by going +3. You get this. You get this beautiful line drawn in blue. And now I think you know what to do. This has been your boy, Algebra, coming to you live and direct from the studio. Have a good rest of the day. Have a great weekend. If you have any questions about your homework that you're about to receive from either Mr. Milligan or Dr. Taylor, please feel free to email me directly. Peace.